Welcome to Htx Renegade Radio. We are the Conservative Outlaws. I am Simple Man, and saddled on the horse next to me is TDC. TDC, how's everything going this week?
Doing better, man. Seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and always, favorite part of the week. Get out there, talk to everybody. Welcome to the show. We have one hell of a show tonight. It's going to be good, kind of feeding off of what we were talking about last night and branching off into a lot more topics. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be awesome. For anybody first time checking out the show, this is where we spur the donkey and we tighten the reins on liberal hypocrisy. So thanks for joining us tonight. I see Dean sitting in there. See a handful of other people in there now. Welcome to the show, everybody, and thanks for joining us tonight. We got a pretty good announcement for tonight, don't we, TDC?
Heck yeah, we do, man. We're you know how we do it. We're always on the fly, making things happen, and tonight's no different than that. So yeah, let's go ahead and show them some of the things that we got, man. It's pretty awesome, man. Proud of it.
We've got our merch come in today, and so we're gonna just show y'all a little bit right here. Here's the t-shirts. We've got them in black and white. Of course, you know it's always good and evil. And so here we go.
Black and white shirts. We've got some koozies coming. We've got hats coming.
I got the koozies right here. We're going to show those out. But we got the awesome Mike Man logo.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about, man.
That's courtesy of the artwork of the man sitting next to me right there. Simple Man makes it happen, puts this stuff together, so it looks great, man.
The ideas come from all of us, man. From both of us for sure. There's the koozies. Of course, True Talk Texas style. I want to give a little shout out to Extreme Vinyl Supply. They did the work for us. They threw them up their name up on the koozies. We wanted them on there because they've been great on helping us out with everything.
Heck yeah.
Last couple here. We got the 1776 USA koozies. We've got them in the Texas flag as well. These have been hot, man. Everybody's been wanting these right here.
Yeah, that color just pops off. Little Texas, little USA.
Back there on the back, we've got the Conservative Outlaws, Simple Man, and TDC. That is us. Again, thank y'all for joining the show.
Yeah, so we already got Greg chiming in saying he's wearing his to his cornhole league right now. That's awesome. Thank you for the support already.
I'm going to put up on the ticker here in a second. If you're interested in the shirts or koozies, we're going to have hats next week around Tuesday, but we'll definitely showcase them out on next week's show. The email, if you want to send us an email, it is HTX Renegade Radio 1@gmail.com, or you can always go to our Facebook page and message us through there. On the YouTube channel, you're always able to message us over there. So definitely, if you're interested, check it out. We love it. You know, y'all love it. You love it.
We love it.
We love it. Man, let's get back to our show tonight.
Yeah,
we are bringing back some guests we had on, on before in our past radio life again. And these two are phenomenal. They're World Book of Knowledge. They have so many tangents into this into these views, and not only the views, but actually having the stuff to back it up. And they just dig so far into some of this stuff. And I mean, even for us, it wows us all the time. So,
yeah, that's no doubt. So grab your notepad for sure, because you can actually do some learning tonight.
Exactly. Definitely grab a cold one. Kick back, relax. Definitely interact with the show. We love to hear y'all's input. We love to hear your questions and all that. And I know our guests are going to definitely love to hear what y'all have to say, and if y'all have any questions out. So I would say, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring them on. What do you think?
Heck yeah.
And here we go. Below us here is Kim Gutierrez and Lynn Davenport. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Welcome
back.
Thanks for having us on your new format.
Yeah, I hope y'all enjoy it like you did the last one. Y'all were very popular with the last one as well. So
yeah, it was a show.
Every time we've had y'all on, everybody's loved y'all. So
in
We
a previous
appreciate it.
format. Yeah. That's
You know,
gonna
going off of last week's show, if anybody got to catch last week's show, if not, go check it out on our YouTube channel. Go check it out on our Facebook page, the Bill of Rights Facebook page, WO Entertainment Facebook page. We're all over the place. And if you didn't check out last week's show, we got into some stuff talking about what COVID has done to education and mask mandates and all this, what it's actually done to kids, parents, and all this stuff through all this mess. And I mean, who else better to bring on to talk about this stuff than these two below us, man? It's
don't mess with mothers with kids and schools, and that's the truth. That's where we kind of kicked off into that.
Don't mess with Texas education either, man. These two,
I'm telling you,
jump all over you.
Yeah, it's been, just to kind of kick off of what Simple Man was saying right there. We've all watched Lawrence, his monologue where, it was emotional. He was talking about the effects that it's had on the kids, of the learning gap that's already been put in place just over this. There's no making it up. There's no going back from this. Then just to spin off of that, the overdose rates are going up. Suicide rates are going up. Some of the pictures that have been shared of these kids just be putting almost, you might as well just have them in little dog cages while they are at school. They can't be social. It's a freaking travesty what is happening all throughout. And now here we are. We finally, what was it, just yesterday? 100% open now, so to speak. But I haven't seen it 100% open. Has anybody else here seen it 100% open?
It may be open, but it's not really the same. So it's not. It's too little and too late with Abbott, I believe.
I agree.
I'm not sure exactly what was left of his governorship that he was trying to salvage by giving us our privileges back, but
Giving back what was not his to take.
it wasn't his to take in the first place.
Right.
Do you think it was political that this was done at a time where he was just receiving a wind energy award?
Well, he also had such a low approval rating at that CPAC thing, so he was below. Who was he below, Kim? Do you remember? There's somebody really bad that he was below.
He was at the bottom of the totem pole. I'm not sure that he even registered. I think it was like a partial percentage point.
So, this is funny because the left thinks he's so awful and that we're all on him, but really the left and the right both hate him right now. And so he really has very few supporters right now. He does have a huge war chest in his coffers for a potential run for the presidency, but he doesn't have his base. He's losing his base.
Yeah, I think that would be a joke. I don't think he's got a chance in hell.
I don't think he's going to get the support from the Texas, from Texas.
I mean, it's unfortunate. I wish we could support him, but I mean,
politics is optics. At the end of the day, this is all about optics. And while people like us have had it with him, Lynn and I had it with him 10 years. Well, not 10 years ago. It's been in office since 15. So we've had it with him since 15, when he wouldn't respond to the problems with education that we were bringing to his attention. But with that, you still have these people who believe that you have to keep Texas red because that's what the GOP sells to their part of the media. And so if there's not a viable alternative and people are scared of what the alternatives are when the primaries come, then what do we do with them then?
Well, you said the optics are everything. And so there are those asleep kind of, rhinos who he throws them a bone or throws us a bone every once in a while. And if they just pay attention to the headlines, it looks like, oh, Abbott's still defending our freedoms and he's still for us. But really, if you have been following like we've been following, we know that he's never really been on our team. And the people who got him there are also seeing he's not on their team. All those people that kissed up to him and created the monster that he is, like all those liberty organizations that he basically pandered to.
Well, he just traveled Texas supposedly with Biden during Biden's most recent trip here. And that was supposed to be a great bipartisan effort. Then he's at the border the next week talking about how this is just not acceptable, and he's going to have to do something about this. DeSantis sued Biden, the Biden administration today. DeSantis said, "No,
DeSantis is the man.
We're not taking the invasion from the border, not doing it." While Abbott is doing photo ops and being bipartisan.
I think y'all both said it. Keying right there. The best word that we're hearing right now is optics. Bad optics. Senator Cruz on a vacation with his kids. Bad optics. So they want to put that back on the right and on everybody about optics or what's transparent. But what about the optics that where Pelosi's getting her hair done or Newsom or whoever's going out to these restaurants? None of those optics apply. Man. Yeah, none of those apply on the other side, but sure as hell it's bad optics.
Cruz as that's just a distraction while there's so many things going on. And I join everyone in their it doesn't look good that he's going on vacation when we're all freezing, even though that's not his role at the federal level. None of that was his responsibility as far as I can tell, but it doesn't look good that our Texas representative is.
I know. He wasn't handing out water.
Yeah, and then he comes back and does this. It's
the apology tour.
I really think we're that stupid that we are gonna. Thank you so much for passing out that water.
Thank you for that, Ozark.
You care about that.
You look a little sunburned.
Yeah.
But
at the same time, Biden took the day off, didn't he? That at the same time.
Every day's a day off for Biden. He's not
in the basement.
Mentally, he's not.
Bless his heart.
He's not on every day. Yeah. So
no further questions. No further questions.
Yeah. No.
Hey, talking about bad optics. What about the governor way up there in New York? That's some bad optics, right?
What?
Como. That's some bad optics. Yeah.
My thing is, what are they up to? Why are the Democrats eating their own? Because if they're after him, they're trying to hide something else. Because he's their ilk. I mean,
he's their little scapegoat. He'll take the fall, but something else is going on.
Well, it makes it easy when somebody throws out some actual evidence on some of these guys. If you're not the president's son, then I guess it's easy to turn their backs on anybody on the liberal side. You know what I mean? So. They were doing it. They were doing it during the debates. They were doing it, before the election. They were eating each other alive, and it was great. I mean, it was great to watch. But they finally.
If they would just actually really do it and just be done with it.
Yeah, you make a good point about that.
Just get them out of there.
Great. Hey, I want to give a shout out before we carry on. Before we circle back.
Circle back. We can before we circle back. Before we circle back, let's loop some people in here.
I just want to give a shout out to everybody we got coming in now. Dean, again, give you a shout out. Greg, Ash, April, hello. Welcome to the show. David Brocken Jr., James Wagner. Thank you all for joining us tonight.
Hi, James.
Definitely appreciate it.
One of our buddies.
It means a lot, guys. Like, share, keep the voice moving. We really appreciate it, and I can promise you, bigger and better things are on the way. That's a promise.
Exactly. See, Dean said he'd rather watch QVC than watch a Biden speech.
No.
Yeah. Go. Sesame Street, QVC. What's the difference?
Yeah.
Mickey, I officially hate the term circle back. Wacky Pisaki's she's already killed that circle back stuff. So
I don't have any answers. Let me circle back to you.
And she gets away.
Yes, she does. She avoiding questions. She's great on circling back with no answer.
She said something the other day that was just astonishing, where they had said something about would you take advice from President Trump? We would never even listen to President Trump. I forget what it was in regards to. It had to be one of the main topics, whether it was border security or whatnot. And they were like, we do not take any advice or even listening to President Trump. It's like, well, maybe that's why a lot of things are going to hell right now.
Right after she was appointed to that position, she was mocking Kaylee for Kaylee's book that Kaylee would bring to the press conferences. You better get a book.
Well, it's radically
out here. You better get a book.
Radically changing everything in the first month of your presidency. That puts this country at jeopardy. And one of the things, not only border security but schools and just livelihood all in general. But with this border crisis, we talked about the border crisis. So with them allowing these illegals to come through now without any kind of vetting on anything, they come in with COVID, the whole 9 yards. The impacts that we're already having now from COVID through 2020 on the schools and stuff. I mean, what do y'all think? We're gonna get slammed with these school districts are going to get slammed wherever these people end up. And
well, we get what Huffines said, that when Huffines was a senator, he said we get 80,000 kids, I think, a year that come over from other countries, but mostly Mexico, and then we have a lot of refugees, and many of them settle in North Texas. We have big refugee resettlement companies, and there's no planning for that. I mean, the infrastructure cannot support it. So regardless of what your stance is on that, legal or illegal, we can't sustain it. And so then they float these exorbitant bonds to pay for facilities and things, and all that goes back to the taxpayer. And then what happens in at least in Dallas, people can't afford to live here. So then they're pushed out to other districts that have more affordable housing. And so it's pushing out poor residents and then bringing in more poor residents who are not citizens. And then it drains the system. So it's something that no one really wants to talk about.
And no one wants to talk about the immersion that takes place with these kids that get put into mainstream classrooms with kids that are English speaking, and the accommodations that have to be made not only for these kids who are immersed, but the kids who have to accept this interruption to their daily routines.
Yeah, because you bring up a good point. Because Spanish, we've got enough Spanish speaking. I mean, it's still a shortage, but we have that we can handle. But you talk about like all these different dialects, and we get kids from Burma, and we do a great job with what we have, but there aren't enough people speaking all of those different dialects. And like when the kids were registering for school, I was helping them, and they would give me their name, and I couldn't even figure out what the first letter of the alphabet was. Spanish I get, but it's not recognizable to most of us. And so I would say, I'm like, what letter do I even start with to go through the card to find their name? And so yeah, I mean, we're completely drowning. And then those schools end up failing schools because those kids, they get a year or two. I think they get 2 years before the STAR test counts, but still those schools become D rated or F rated or failing schools because the kids can't pass the test, and they're expecting them to, bring them up to speed in time.
Right.
4 years ago, I had a teacher explain to me how it works, and she was struggling at the time. She had 2 17-year-old kids in her senior class that spoke very little English, probably could understand enough to get through if she could just work with them one-on-one. One of them said, look, I'm just here so I can graduate and get out of here. I don't need this. And, the teacher still has to put forth the effort to deal with that and the disruption that it brings to the other kids that also need the teacher.
That's a great point. But yeah, I mean, at the border, like what you're talking about dialects and everything, I heard today it's like everybody just thinks the insurgents is just Mexico. It's like Cuba, Pakistan. There's people from all over the world Chinese. That are coming in. They're coming in. You're exactly right. They're coming in from the weaknesses in the border. Let's just put it right out there. And it's not just Mexico.
Like the last I heard, one of our high schools had 64 different variations of languages spoken.
Wow, that's
huge.
Well, and we've got adult men that are in our high schools. They might be 24, 25 years old, but they don't have the identification, and because they look younger than they are. Right. And they can be in the schools up to a certain age that they're adults. So whether they're giving their real age or not, they still allow. And if you think about that, around
that's sickening.
15, there's a 17-year-old.
That's a scary thought.
There's a mindset in the district.
Yeah, and if they identify as if they're men that identify as women, then they can be in the bathroom.
That's a totally different ballgame. We could
hang
start a
on.
whole
I want to pick y'all's brain on that just real quick. Is that even something that is happening in schools? Because I don't know. Because if that's happening in schools right now, then we definitely need to make a stand. Because I mean, I know that that's on the forefront everywhere, but the moment that my daughter has to come home and say, "Hey, a boy identified as a girl today," and he came and used,
I have a text message.
That's not happening.
The mom of a 6-year-old last week texted me and said, there is a child in my child's class who identifies as the other gender, and the children have been warned not to refer to that child with certain pronouns or by their gender specific pronoun. And
I'm pretty sure that's happening everywhere.
I'm going to drop the first edit that I'm going to have to do on this show is, I mean, this is bullshit.
Oh, let's get the jar.
This is kids. This is where kids are now. You know, at 6 years old, having to worry about what they can call somebody else or anything else. This is insane. This should not be happening.
We're creating a punitive environment for babies.
That's my daughter turns 6 in just a couple of weeks, and I'm just scared as hell that this is where our country's going with this stuff.
Think about how if she wants to compete. So I was not. I don't have the athletic gene. They didn't have politics when I was in elementary school. So they put me in the 400 because I was tall, and I, run around the track wondering why I was even there. And they put me next. I would always have to compete with the same girl, Kara Lee, and she was a rock star. She was so good. And so thinking, okay, so then you put me up against her and a guy who identifies as a girl. I'm not even going to show up for the meet because I don't have a chance, snowball's chance in hell of even qualifying. I mean, please. So in one executive order, Biden just completely erases all the progress that women have made, and then you're going to put boys in.
Exactly.
Fair.
And
these sports.
I mean, something's not adding up. As much as he's wanting to promote women as far as throughout the administration and everything, and then turn around and to promote something like this, it's insane.
And promote something that has absolutely no
nothing
business
to do
with the federal government whatsoever. The federal government should not be in these discussions whatsoever. If a state wants to take those approaches and look at those things to consider for their state, that's one discussion. I'm still not sure that I'd be on board with it, but the federal government has no business in the lives of our children. None. There's nothing in
that's
the
what you're
Constitution
seeing.
that enumerates powers to them over our kids.
How did we get to this point in the past 10, 12 years where everything was about bullying somebody? And it was more gender based there when it was, an older boy bullying a younger boy, or an older girl, bullying a younger girl. It goes from that. What's the difference in this now? Why did it change so much to where, to do away with this whole gender thing and to allow and to open the door for so many problems to come in on this with sports, and not only with the sports aspect, but with the locker room aspect. I think you have to look at it from two different points of view. You can look at it in general, society in general, and then look at it from an education standpoint. Education, it's a well-oiled machine. It was deliberate and came from many different directions and agendas. And I have to believe that it's probably the same thing from a societal standpoint. I remember reading the books about not spanking your children and, allowing them to have a voice. Our parents didn't give us all of that opportunity. We got spanked. We didn't.
We used to say, do you want broccoli or spinach instead of
a voice?
They feel like they own the decision.
Yeah, I remember sitting at the table till I finished my plate.
Right.
Eat what's on your plate, or you're not going to bed until you eat what's on your plate.
Exactly. Or you can have it for breakfast tomorrow.
Yeah.
America, when we grew up, that's awesome right there.
Right. So it kind of leads into like this whole. I know this goes a million different ways, but I was trying to focus it in towards kids here with this whole cancel culture. So you're starting to see, and I know it may start with Dr. Seuss, but then it's Pepe Le Pew, and then it's Speedy Gonzalez. And I'm like, all these things are kind of have one thing in common. It's children that are affected by these things. And I'm like, why are they trying to rip these things away from children? And the more and more things that you're hearing about what they're trying to pass and allow, it's trying to separate the child from the family, the child from the parent. And I got a perfect example of this. I happen to know somebody whose daughter was actually a freshman in high school doing pre-college course. And during the time that the internet was down or whatnot, they weren't able to get in to do some homework assignments. So they actually had a 19 as a test score. So as a parent, they reached out to the teacher and said, hey, is my child going to be able to make this up? Or what are we going to do here? Do we need to drop this so it don't go on the transcripts? And they said, per some code that's been passed, they are not allowed to talk to the parent. They can only talk to the child. And it's like, it's a 14-year-old kid here. And they said, per some regulations that they quoted, that they were not allowed to talk to the parent. So I don't know if y'all have heard that, but this is the kind of stuff that schools are doing, pushing agendas, controlling the children, almost pitting them against their own family and their morals and beliefs, to where you hear it all the time, whether it's a kid who could have conservative morals and values, they take 1 year in college, come home, they hate their parents. And I just think it starts early.
It's to drive a wedge between families, and it's to drive a wedge between races. And so get us all divided. And, Satan's the master of confusion. And so when it comes to the genders, they have to blur the lines. I mean, I think I look at it as like a spiritual warfare. Blurring the lines causes confusion.
Yeah.
So people, you're not going to know who's what and what's what. And then it's encouraged. So then people are told, oh, maybe I don't think I'm this. Then maybe I'm not.
They're over here talking unity, but they're over here dividing you and splitting you apart. And
that's exactly what's happening. The division is real. There's no unification, no uniting anybody here.
Well, I haven't learned very much about it. I've always talked about technocracy and this whole, this global shift that will undermine all of our local electeds. They won't matter in the technocratic rule. But really, I've been enlightened by some people who study communitarianism, and that's really what they call it, the overarching issue that we're fighting on a global scale. Is communitarianism. And so that whole word unity, which, it's ironic because everything they do is to divide and to make us hate each other, keep us hating each other. But I don't know, I don't know that much about it. There are people that are doing all kinds of research and putting stuff out there, videos and things about communitarianism.
Look at the energy that came from people uniting during the Trump campaign, and consider the momentum that was felt during that time. Now, imagine if we were left alone to think for ourselves and didn't have the media constantly telling the entire nation what they should be thinking, driving it home through education. If we didn't have all of these little
censorship of social media, stuff
all of these tunnels into our homes, providing all of this propaganda, telling people how to think or what to be fearful of. Think if we didn't have all of that, what that momentum would have really been like. They can't have that. Their plans for their Great Reset and all of these other wonderful ideas that they have, that couldn't happen if we united like that across the country. And I keep going back to, if you remember September 12th, the day after 9/11, what was this country like? Even the criminals were behaving themselves. Everybody just stopped for a minute and looked at each other, and it was like we all hugged each other.
Yeah.
I don't know how we went from that in such a short amount of time to where we are now, where we're fighting each other over what people are putting in our schools. We're not even fighting each other over how we feel about each other. We're fighting each other over what they're introducing to our kids.
Yes. Well, Kim, one thing that I would say is that's different from then and now. I think the majority of the people now can see for themselves that, make draw a conclusion out of this whole deal with what just happened in November. Seeing what has happened with their voice, then everybody was unified. You have a lot of these personal interest politicians sitting up there making their pockets fat, and when they control what's going on behind the scenes, the public doesn't see that. Mm-hmm. So when you have a certain president or whoever elected official that's in office that's high enough that the common people, the American people, do not know what's going on behind closed doors. And then when you have a president that comes out, and again, Trump was one man. You know, we're all adults. We can make decisions for ourselves and draw some conclusions ourselves. But he exposed a lot of things that what we thought was, conspiracy theories and tinfoil hat, talk was actually real. These people are banking off the people's money. And when you see one of the things that I would say is that, like, when Trump put the tariffs on China, going after that, I think it hurt a lot of those politicians that have been making, bank and becoming millionaires through money with China. I think it hurt them in the pocketbook, and they really had to get him out of there.
And they're right back at it.
Dallas, we have a state legislator, Rafael Anchia, and he has an exclusive contract with the city of Dallas with that EB-5 deal. And the EB-5 is the visa deal where Chinese investors can come and invest in real estate in Dallas, and they get, right, if they invest, say, $500,000 or more, then they get a fast pass to citizenship, immediate citizenship for them and their children up to 20-something years old. And so, the incentive for these Chinese investors is, the wealthy ones, they're like, okay, yeah. And so they invest in Dallas real estate. And his business, Civitas, directly benefits from these contracts. That's a state legislator. And all the other local politicians are in with it. So they've had people that are known CCP members who have they've courted these CCP operatives in Dallas. These are our city officials. I wrote about it. I have an article published on LinkedIn about it. At China Grove in Dallas, off that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see that magic back there?
We talked about this wardrobe malfunction.
Look at that. I already got some comments coming in here. That's the power of the green screen. Not. But no, you're making,
man.
Yeah, that was planned. It was perfect timing for an American talk. And all of that does lead back to all these bills that they're trying to pass. The HR1 or whatever, they're trying to speed up this stuff to where they're trying to get kids that are 14 to have the ability to go have a sex change without parents signing off on it. They're trying to get children to be able to register to vote at 16. I mean, all of this is an agenda. They've been planning this for a long time. I mean, even our president himself said that if you sign more than
military
executive orders, that you're a dictator. And geez, where are we at now? Almost 65, 70. It's unheard of what he's done so far.
Well, what was that recently with the military? You can have a sex change if you're in the military now, and they'll pay for it. And we're doing in the city of Dallas. I don't know where it stands now, but it came through the agenda. I think they pushed it off. But they're basically adding. There was an RFP for additional insurance because the primary insurance they had for the county employees did not handle the whole sex change surgery. And so they call it gender confirmation surgery. Even though gender is confirmed at birth, they call it gender confirmation. So that way the city, if a guy identifies as a girl, then he can go get a boob job, get his Adam's apple removed, and then laser hair removal on the county's dime. And so, the percentage of employees that would actually want to even take advantage of that are very small. So all of this it's making its way through these agendas that are coming in through our school districts, our cities, city councils, our commissioners court meetings, all these. So if you want to know what's going on, everything's local. Politics is local. Did we lose somebody in the process?
TDC. I think he's fixing his wardrobe change.
Oh, gotcha.
Malfunction.
Everything is local, and all of these social things, everything on the social landscape ends up in our classrooms. One way or the other, there is some trickle down effect into our classrooms from all of this social
told you that.
engineering.
God, dang it.
Did you say circle back?
We can hear you.
Yeah. Hot mic. I just muted him.
Okay.
So, yeah. I'm sorry. What were you saying, Kim? I'm trying to go back and forth and produce this thing. Hey, this is on the fly. Live broadcast.
All of this stuff on the social landscape ends up in our classrooms. It all has a trickle down effect into our classrooms, and it's either an impact on our teachers or it's an impact on our students. It's an impact in our families because you've got values at home that you're trying to instill in your kids, and then all of this is put in their faces outside of the time of day that you have control over their environment. And it's a constant, it goes back to what we talked about earlier about the chaos. They keep us in chaos all the time.
And it's very confusing for the kids. And then, Kim, did you see that? I think it was a Breitbart article. There he is.
Welcome back, TDC.
Hey, sorry. Wardrobe change.
Well, he's fully dressed now.
Yeah.
Thank God.
No.
But anyway, the Kim, did you see the Breitbart article where it was talking about SEL as a vehicle for critical race theory? That social emotional learning is a vehicle for critical race theory.
Yes, Dr. Berry put that out, I think, this week. And social emotional learning ties into the critical race theory and all of these big words that are being popped out in the media, giving everyone the impression that there's some really good things going on out there in the way of race relations and cultural appropriation. Everybody's going to have a big group hug pretty soon. And what it really boils down to is they're taking this chaos that we've talked about, using social emotional learning that's been forced into our schools over the past several years, and using it as a vehicle to take this division in the critical race theory and other programs like it and start painting enemies among our communities, where we now have people identified in our communities just for the color of their skin as enemies.
Yeah.
So Kim and I, early on, we were our red flags went up with social emotional learning because we knew that it was kind of a, what do you call it? Really drawing a blank on to bring in the Trojan horse. Hello.
It is the Trojan horse.
Yes. Trojan horse. So they bring it in, and these are things that teachers have done forever because they have always been addressing the social and emotional issues with children and their needs. So that's something, it's insulting to these professional teachers because they're already doing that. But what SEL does is that it brings in these programs. I mean, we did it when I was younger, and you'd have a puppet come in and be like, how do you feel about, and about your feelings and stuff. But now that they have technology, a lot of these things are done through climate surveys in the schools. And a lot of it's, they're always giving the kids these invasive surveys where half the time the parents don't even know they're doing it. And the kids are asked things, they nudge them in certain directions. A lot of them are computer adaptive assessments. So they ask a question, and depending on how they answer, then they can redirect them. But social emotional learning, we've always said, address it, don't assess it, because once you put it in the test or in a test, which is where they're going with this. So they're not just tested for their academic knowledge. They're now tested for their non-cognitive skills and their behaviors, their attitudes, their beliefs, and all of those things can then be questioned and undone. That's the goal, is to undo whatever the family values have instilled in them. And so it gives them
That's
retraining.
100%.
Yeah.
And I could just imagine that now, with given that, how most schools are very liberal on the liberal side. So heaven forbid you have a kid that comes in and still loved Trump and said, my parents voted for Trump and we did very well. And then just that kid not having any relation to politics, or even these kids don't even have no clue what politics are, because none of them have paid a tax dollar. They don't understand what it takes to run a business or feed people or the economics. That all they know is mom and dad are out there and this is who they support, and then they can be scrutinized because they're going to be labeled as a conservative or this one's
or
parents
racist.
or this
So
one.
if they have any allegiance to Trump, if their family, then they're labeled a racist. And rallies, the Trump supporters are all different races. They just they only show the white, the older white couple, which in
there's 80 million of those.
Yeah.
So
it's sad. It's sad.
With that, with the social emotional learning, we're seeing all kinds of, we've experienced during COVID all of this virtue signaling on masks and social distancing, and you don't care about people if you don't wear your mask, and
you want to kill grandma if you don't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Liz Markowitz, who was running for Congress in Texas, literally said to me that I was advocating for the death of children because I wanted them to go back to school.
Right. And that became
a complete flip.
They would say because COVID only targets Black and brown people, that COVID knows. And so it's racist if you want the kids back in school, even though we know that it hurts the kids in poverty and minority children most when they're not in school.
Exactly.
And so it became this class war on who wants their kids to go back to school. And I know most parents wanted their kids to go back into school. And, our district, this is one thing I wanted to say tonight when we're talking about Abbott. So he just ruled this week that they call it hold harmless, which is ironic. But that means that the school districts will still be paid regardless of whether the students are in school. So all these districts would be penalized normally because if they don't have the butts in the seats, they're not getting paid. And what happened with my district, we lost 4% who did not come back. They were not enrolled. So 4%, you do the math on that. I mean, what's like, I don't know, but they were out about $10 million if Abbott had not held them harmless. Well, so the thing is, even though they lost that 4%, there are all these kids who they might be logging in, but they're not really engaged. They're not learning anything. And we're going on, this is like a year and a half, or it'll be a year and a half by the time the school year is over, that these kids have lost learning and no interaction. But the district can still, as long as they're enrolled, even if they're half-assed doing it, the district is still being paid. Plus the 4% that never came back at all, they're going to get that funding. Now, next year, I doubt it'll be like that. But the district was celebrating this because they don't give a shit if the kids are there or not.
They don't care. It's all about the funding.
They want the money. It's all about the money.
Well, isn't it about?
I did read that at some point they're going to have to seats in the chairs in order to continue the funding. There's something to this. I don't know. He's the king of manufacturing a crisis, so he can give us the solution. So I can't wait to see what he's going to shove down our throats if they don't meet their 80%. What I'm wondering is, where's that money going to go if they don't meet their 80%? There's money in the public schools. There's no doubt the funding is there. So what's he going to do with it if they don't meet their 80%? What are they going to do with our money? That money's supposed to be going to our kids.
They're going to invest in more windmills.
Right. So, let me ask this.
And then use the fossil fuels to thaw them out.
Right.
In a normal school
I'd like
year.
to say I also think he manufactured the ERCOT crisis, but that's for another story.
in a normal school year when there's not COVID,
backfire.
The schools are push hard for attendance because they only get paid for the days that kids are in school, right?
I mean, they take attendance throughout the day, so it's not even just that day they show up. There's multiple checkpoints. And so, it's interesting because the whole prayer in the school thing, they got sued by, I think, Islamic community or what was that?
Care, maybe.
Yeah, but
Care.
And so it wasn't really because they cared the kids were in the seats, but the kids were going to pray. So what they allowed them to do prayer in school and provided, like we have Islamic prayer rooms Muslim prayer rooms in all of our high schools, not because they were so concerned about the kids being able to worship, it's because their butts weren't in the seat. So it's all about money, and which is, I think, is a very interesting.
I think that was the point I was trying to go to. Lynn was saying that if they got paid for kids being there on a normal year, so this proves it's just about the money because they don't care now whether kids are there or not.
They're actually making more money. They're making more money from what I've heard, even in some, even in childcare or whatever. You not only get paid for the kid that's supposed to be there, but you get an incentive on top of that. So it's been a hell of a year.
I didn't see I did not see what was allocated to education and the bomb that they dropped and passed this week for stimulus. So I'm sure that there's going to be some coddling for somebody in there for education.
100%. I was going to ask you that as well, because I remember on last week's show we were talking about that, about the unions that go along with the schools and the power that they had and how much funding was going to the Biden campaign, and just to cross our education system with a political system, it almost seems very, very jaded. If you're campaigning from a union for a particular whoever's running, that is one-sided, and it's going to go off that way. How the hell does a conservative win when your whole union is contributing to a Democratic campaign?
Well, and then you've got the teachers getting the kids to vote for that candidate too. And when this was weeks before the November election, but I had to call my son. He's in 11th grade. I had to call his English teacher, and because he had to analyze an opinion, an op-ed from Margaret Thatcher, and it was about. Sorry, not Margaret. What's her name? Madeleine Albright. What am I saying? Madeleine Albright wrote an op-ed about how to something about Trump. It was so bad. It was like, how do we get rid of, or how do we stop Trump? Something like that. That was his assignment. And the teacher, and I believe him, he said, well, that was given to us through AP. That was College Board, because they're doing these advanced placement classes. All this stuff comes in, and those are the assignments to choose from. So all of this is so pervasive, and this is happening in the college level, high school level, elementary school level.
Did y'all see that? What Lauren had just said up there? And I mean, he's saying it's straight up off of the CDC website, which we know how factual CDC can be. What? CDC website showed mask wearing changed the spread by no more than 3%.
No, yeah.
I mean,
science is selective. There's no science involved. This is all political science.
But I bet
I have a great video. I should have sent you guys.
If we put 2 masks on, it would go up to 6%, guaranteed.
True.
I have a great video I'll send you guys after the show from one of our moms. She's one of my favorite people, like in Katie right now, really energized about getting involved in the schools. And she sends me these videos. She's got a mask on and blows her candle out. And how are you stopping the spread if you can do that?
But you know what? It just makes people tell me it makes people feel better, and if it does that, then they're gonna just wear the mask because they want you to feel better.
Well, I'm gonna go back to the discussion we had earlier, and if we would have spanked these kids more, we wouldn't have to make them feel better now.
Well, and everything's about feelings. That's how they're leading my whole district. And okay, so can you put that picture up of the kids in the
I'm working on it.
So our school district, I'm in Richardson ISD, live in Dallas, but kids go to Richardson.
Take myself out of here for a second.
Yeah. So this is atrocious. So any normal person who sees this says, what are you thinking?
When I saw that picture, it reminded me of when I went to basic training in the military, and it was which one? The penicillin shot time. So on the penicillin shot, when they line us all up in these 200 people at a time, they don't want. Well, we went through that, but on the penicillin, it was count backwards from 30 while they're sticking it. 30 is a long time with a needle. So they put us in these little transitions, and you had to keep your head down so you can't see the person getting the shot next to you.
Oh.
just because people might freak out or somebody. Well, I happen to have the guy next to me, are you allergic? He didn't know. And then he started foaming at the mouth. I'm like, oh God, what the hell's going on? And I was like, that's why they have us all there. So people didn't start panicking. But that's what I felt like. That gave me flashbacks a long, long time ago to where we had to sit there for how many hours and just sit there, and you could just hear 30, 29, 28. Just these huge ass shots before we went overseas. But yeah, it was like, oh my God, I had those horrible flashbacks of like, that's not social. That's not nothing.
It's horrible.
You look like you're put in a freaking kennel, man. These are our kids.
Everyone was so outraged at the kids in cages, which of course we know if you pan out, that's not the case. And all those cages were from when Obama.
I'm almost there. Give me one second.
No, you're fine. I'll explain what they are. So they're these tri-fold plexiglass shields that our district spent thousands and thousands of dollars on, and other districts around the Metroplex are doing it, Highland Park ISD. And so they're made of foam board with plexiglass. For the most part, it's plexiglass, and they have little handles on them. And so our district did that because the teachers requested them. And so then people complain about them. They find them in the toilet and all over the place. Kids were using them as sleds during the ice storm, and I used it to shave the snow and ice off of my son's car. Mm-hmm. They're stupid, and the kids can't hear, so they actually have to log in virtually, even though they're in person, because between the masks and the shields, the kids can't hear what's going on in the classroom. And so, can you see it there?
It should be coming up.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, so our district put out a survey because they've been hearing complaints. So only 1,400 teachers, like maybe 20% of our teachers, filled out the survey. And the survey, they said 69% of the teachers are in favor of these surveys. Well, a lot of the teachers won't do the surveys because they know that they can trace it back to them if they fill it out.
You can see it.
They're skewed anyway. The questions are always skewed to the district's favor, always.
But anyway, so they have these at lunch. They have them on their desks. They carry them everywhere with them.
Go back to the other way.
Okay, hold on.
This is
Can you see it now?
There it is. Now we blew it up.
So I call it boxed lunch because they're all in little cages while they're eating lunch. And they also do this during library. You'll see little kids sitting on the floor in their little trifold square.
Why aren't parents burning that district?
Can I see that?
I do not understand.
It looks good.
I don't know. I don't understand. I don't get it.
This looks like kids are waiting on commissary right here.
Yeah.
A little bit of
they're going to
stand in between each other.
Looks like they're waiting for their Saturday morning visit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. Exactly. And
this is your school to prison pipeline right here, people.
Yep. It's conformity.
So today we were engaged in the ongoing mask debate. And a parent said that she absolutely could not understand how masks are traumatizing our children, or social distancing is traumatizing our children. Look at that picture and tell me, how would you not be mentally changing a child? How could you not change the mental faculties of a child when you isolate them and keep them from personal interaction with other people? At a minimum, their teacher, when I was in school, the best relationships I had were with my teachers. Those people cared about me. They cared about teaching. They cared about imparting.
You were probably a good student, though, Kim. Not really.
I think I was.
I don't know that you might feel that way about me, or vice versa.
That was good, man.
When I got older, it was a little different. But I still remember my kindergarten teacher's name. My kindergarten teacher was Miss Beth. And my first grade teacher was Miss Seals. My third grade teacher was Miss Strahan. I loved those women. They were fabulous people, and they were good to us. And
mine always said, "Nice of you to join us, Mr. Carroll."
That was ninth grade. Coach Stars. What the battle?
And I was like, "Don't get too excited. I'm leaving in a few minutes."
Okay, on the mask thing. So they're still digging their heels on that too. We weren't able, even though Abbott. So really nothing has changed in Texas because most businesses are saying they're still going to require it. And most schools are saying they're going to require it too. But
at any point, did your board take it to a vote, Lynn?
Well, no, it was interesting because the superintendent immediately put out something saying, no, we're gonna continue with the mask. Nothing changes. Well, I thought, well, that's not her decision, because at the TEA it said that it was a decision that the boards were to make. So we wondered how she even had that authority, because she reports to the board. So then, of course, they did talk about it in the school board meeting, but we had a whole slew of parents get up there, and we even there was a teacher who, of course, they can't speak in public. There's all kinds of retaliation if teachers actually say what they think. But there was a teacher who spoke through a parent, and the parent read her testimony, and it was just about the masks. And the kids were so excited about being able to take off the masks and see her smile. And then they found out the next day, oh, the district isn't going to honor what the governor says. So, it's that's why I say it's too little too late, because the damage is done. We've been so conditioned that this is our new normal, and that masks are here to stay. And people are so.
Hey, Lynn, I've got another picture I want to show.
It'll still be trickling down.
Since you're showing governors in mask and all that, you're talking about Abbott and mask. I've got another picture I want to show for everybody. So give me 1 second. I'm going to take myself out and share this out.
You're getting good at this.
Trying to, man. Somebody's got to do it. All right. Let me see if I can share. There we go.
Drum roll, please.
Drum roll. I think
while he does that, I'm just going to say
everybody's going to love this one.
I encourage everybody whose district has not had a board vote to force their boards to vote.
And
show up,
in public.
raise hell, make them put their names behind it. Quit letting them hide behind their one employee. Make them put their names on it.
Oh.
There we go.
This mask is as effective as or as useless as our governor.
Oh, shots fired.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
I can't stand hearing him talk. I cannot. If he says COVID-19, 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 he says it like 500 times every time he speaks. Yeah. Like he's to COVID-19.
Hey, I wanted to ask both of y'all, and this is something that I come from, and Nick kind of mentioned like a layman's term, but that's, we talk about this and how you get involved and everything, but after we come back from our break, could y'all like give like the beginner's course to how to get involved, like how y'all started, like how do you find out when you're getting out there, who, and just how do you get involved? I think a lot of people out there, they hear what to do, but they don't know the first step to take, and just like maybe some beginner steps on how to become more active, and who to look for, who to reach out to, and whether it's in your community, and then build up to where you're actually getting to the point to where you can go to the school boards and stuff like that. Because I think a lot of people want to be more involved. I think they just don't know how to take the first step. And I think if y'all could hit on maybe how y'all personally did it, and then like the first couple steps, I think that'll be awesome for a lot of people out there.
Most importantly, don't go into it looking to make friends. We were blessed.
No.
Yeah, if you're
blessed, we got a little network of wonderful God-given friends, and I'm so thankful for what we have in our little group, but I can promise you there will be a lot of people who don't feel that way about you. So have thick skin.
But we need more people that are doing what you guys do, or we're just going to get ran over every day. So people got to quit turning the cheek. They play dirty, we have to play dirty, or we're just going to get our asses beat every day. And I'm tired of it. So I think more people need to know that they need to take the first step. Let's fight back, and let's take this country back.
That's why I like you, James.
Yep.
Hey, ladies, we're gonna take a break, and we're gonna play a couple songs by Kenny Fiddler. If you haven't heard any of his music, go check him out at kennyfiddler.com. He's got an awesome store over there, great merch. But check out the jams, man; they're awesome. He's got cowboy tunes.
Yeah. Hey, guys, we've had a lot of people jumping in. Let's give it up for our two great guests. They're coming back at the second half. It's been a hell of a show already. I hope you are taking notes because it's going to get even better in hour two. Thank you all. See CMC. Man, there's so many names. We should do a quick rundown when we come back. Just thank everybody. A couple
Hey,
songs. We'll be right
yeah.
back.
That'll be right. Hey, so y'all want to mute your mics, and if you can see that stop cam button down there, y'all can do that. It'll take y'all out of there. It'll just show our background. So, all right, folks, we'll be back here in probably about 10 minutes. Stay tuned for the second hour of the show. It's going to be great. It's already been pretty damn awesome. Thank y'all.
Full shine tires on the Cadillac. Always said I wouldn't go like that. Cause the corners eat up those little white lines. Detroit made and she's all mine. Ain't no sense to all the wandering. Guess I like how leaving feels. No red roses for my darling. Caught in a web of a spinning wheel. Get us out tonight if you're dying and run these city lights. One tank's full and I have two. Ain't much left I want to do. Put it to the floor and leave it all behind. Run away tonight. Shoulder. Counting sheep that used to work for you. Now that wind blows a little colder. It takes a wolf just to get you through. Dust cloud rolling past the city limit. Two hearts pumping with the pistons on 8 and 9. Leaving town now. roads are tough and living lean. Hard, my God, me. Slipped in the saddle for your pay. Dust in your teeth until you spin black. Got the pack, split toe track, cattle. Always seem no way. There was cowboy killers, every single one. Bronze and bottom, barely gone. Devil and dips, numbers are everywhere, so sure. There was cowboy killers every other day. Put a fire in the soft, wrong the big. Curse their name, but you always come back more. Well, you sweat in the spring and you freeze in the fall. Serenading by the coyote call. Four black wolves keep beating steady time. And you drift away to another place. Late at night, you see her face. She sang a song for the love, the woman that you left behind. It was cowboy killers, every single one. Bronze and bottles, bear the gun. Devil and devil numbers are everywhere, so sure. It was cowboy killers every other day. Put a fire in the sorrow, wrong the bay. Curse their name, but you always come back for more. On your chosen profession, broken heart, just a burden lesson. I bet you never heard you clicking as you rolled away. And all these things in motion that put you down, stuck a shovel, cold black ground. Who is intending on digging yourself a grave? There was cowboy killers, every single one. Bronze and bottles, bear the gun. Devil and devil numbers are everywhere, so sure. There was cowboy killers every other day. Put a fire in the sorrow, wrong the big. Curse their name, but you always come back more. These cowboy killers, all the cowboys always beat them to the chain.
Welcome back to Htx Renegade Radio. Hey, we've had a great first hour. The second hour is going to be just as fantastic. I am going to say this while we wait for Kim and Lynn to get back. I'm going to say this. We're going to hold to our values. We've been talking about education and kids and all that entails. So I'm going to say we still teach our kids to say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. We're not going to say yes, they, yes, them, the whole nine. So we're going to keep the morals and values and the manners running through our kids too.
Yeah. So yeah, there's not going to be no it talk around, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah,
It's
we're gonna continue to do what we do and the way
morals
we've
and
been
values,
raised.
man.
We open doors and we do it right. We say manners and
Dude, hey, that's a good point, man. It's like, just the simple social aspect of trying to wave to somebody or letting somebody in and wave, dude, it goes a long way, man. Just smiling, letting somebody know that, hey, how are you doing? Good morning. Those are little things that have been stripped away from a lot of people with the mask. I'm telling you, a lot of people take it for granted, but there is a big social aspect of people, and which when you're sitting in your house and you're scared to death and you're thinking the world's going to end.
there they are.
They're back, everybody.
Welcome
Hour
back,
number
ladies.
2.
Well, you said about the social aspect that I think is the thing that I think a lot of that's intentional by keeping us separated. The EMF, the electromagnetic frequency of the heart is like 3 to 10 feet. They want us to keep 6 feet apart. And in this whole Great Reset, where they're trying to, through the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab, they want us to be separated. They want our hearts to be distant. They want us to get used to being disconnected. And yet, but they want us connected on devices.
Exactly.
Does that mean it's getting feedback?
Well,
I
that
don't
means
know
you
what
can.
that is.
I think that's coming from your side.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know. I heard
Differently.
your point was 100% on, though. You're exactly right. If it's calculated to a point to where they need us to step this far away, humans need human interaction. There's no doubt about it. We need to be able to be social, keeping you away from your families and everything. The whole thing is just, I don't know, man. My parents just got their first round of shots, and it wasn't like I was against it by no means, because they're at an age to where, if they makes them feel secure that they want to do this and it makes them feel better, then by all means. But that hasn't stopped us from living. My parents have been a huge help in our life as far as babysitting my kids. We've still socialized. I'm not going to stop that. My wife and I made a decision from day one that our child would be one of the first ones to go back to school. And she was there. She only missed 2 weeks of school. So she has not been affected to the degree of most. They said up to 40% of Texas children have not even seen a classroom. Yeah. So my daughter, very fortunate, because she still got to experience recess. She still got to play tag. She still got to go out and do things. She's still with a great group of families out there that we work with on the soccer leagues. So we are not keeping her in fear to where she it still has affected her to the point to where it's like grocery stores and stuff. And it's like, oh, I got to have a mask. She thinks it's stupid because we think it's stupid. And that's the kind of kid I want to raise.
Yeah.
So I have a little bit different take on some of that. I've gotten really close to children who are inner city kids, and they were fortunate enough that we were able to find ways for them to have their devices to be able to stay in school. They've missed out on their athletics. They've missed out on their extracurriculars.
Wow.
They, but they were able to stay connected for school. With that, the district provided the internet, of course, so that they could keep these kids going. That was a big deal. It's a huge district, so that wasn't an issue. But they're disconnected, and they live in a community where they live with their grandmother, who does not have transportation. They're isolated to the house. So guess who has access to them? Not us, not the community, not the church. The district has access to them through the technology. The wizards on the other side of this screen have all the power over these children right now because they're isolated and have been isolated for an entire winter, which was an unusually cold winter for us. So that's what they have. everything they're doing, every thought they have is in somebody else's hands right now.
You brought a good point with that. I didn't even think about this part, the athletics part. How about all those seniors or the juniors that are trying to get scholarships? We can go into freshmen because girls softball, they get recruited even earlier than that. So the scholarships and stuff that are being affected by kids not being able to participate and get out there, that's a huge deal. There's a lot of kids out there that their only way that they're going to be able to go to school is if they're going to get a scholarship. Let's be honest. A lot of people can't afford to go to these schools, and they know, and especially
now the girls are competing against boys.
Yeah.
The boys are girls or vice versa. So it's
I
like double whammy.
We haven't seen that yet, or I don't think we have, but the day that like UT signs Michael Johnson starting shortstop for the girls softball team at UT, he's batting 450 and 1,000 slugging percentage, I'm gonna puke.
Yeah. I'm gonna warn you guys the same thing I warned you about with Major League Athletics.
Yeah.
Major League Sports. It's the same thing. Don't say it unless you mean it, because it's coming.
No doubt. Kim, I just wanted to give an FYI.
I need to go get my glove out.
Kim, when you talked about the wizards behind the scene and all that, I just wanted to make sure that wasn't the Wizard of Odd, Carl, that's working behind the scenes for us right now. So
we'd like to thank Carl. I love what Carl is doing with his network. I think he's amazing.
You know what odd is? He told me this earlier, and of course I can't even think about it. When we need him to come on, it was something about digital devices. Like he's a wizard of all the behind the scenes stuff. So he's pretty dang awesome.
Yeah, there you go. Didn't mean to cut you off there, Lynn.
Oh no, just I don't know what I was going to say, but the devices, the kids are on devices. That's by design too. The pandemic has opened up. It's an opportunity. It's a crisis for all kinds of bad things to be forced on our kids. And I think I talked about this the last time I was on the show, that Bill Gates invested $650 million in Crown Castle. And then when our kids were sheltered at home in the lockdowns, that's the company who was providing our hotspots to the kids through Dallas ISD and Richardson ISD, and I'm sure just all over the
imagine that.
I know.
Right.
And you go, well, did he know that this was coming? Actually, he did. So I think it's quite a convenient virus too.
That's a great point, Lynn, because that's what we were hitting on a little bit last week. We were talking about, it's amazing how sometimes these world tragedies and everything that's a 1% problem is created by the 1% of the wealth. What it does is it causes paranoia, fear, and what happens in fear? People panic, they make hasty decisions, and rich, wealthy people rip up the middle America by the heart.
And they can be controlled so much better, more easily when they are fearful.
Yeah.
Speaking of rich, wealthy people ripping out the heart of America, so what are the common themes that you will see now with all of this chaos that's been created in our schools? With I can't remember now how many millions of kids are missing from the rolls right now in schools. One of the things that you will see is parents are naturally inclined to say, "Hey, let's talk about school choice. I need my money to follow my child," and so that opened the door for the predators to renew their efforts for school choice. And I'm going to let Lynn talk more about this because she has delved so deep into the public-private partnerships. But I would just like everyone to understand, when you hear the words school choice and you say, I want the money to follow the child, the money will follow the child. But we have not found one piece of legislation or any bills proposed in this country in any state, whether it be federal or state level, that passed that did not back to the bad federal standards and accountability. So no matter what, no matter where those dollars go, if it ties to that accountability, to the standards, or to the accreditation, you don't have a choice. You're still going to have the same bad thing you're getting from the school district that you're in right now, except it's going to come from a different delivery system, and somebody's going to be wealthy off of it. And I'm going to just kind of hand it off to Lynn with that so she can tell you some of the work that she's done in that.
Well, so the people first need to define school choice because it means different things to different people. So in the public schools, we'll say, oh, we offer schools of choice, which means you can go to a magnet or some sort of specialty or a STEM school within the ISD, which is basically just like they kind of just dress it up a little bit. There's really not a lot of space for innovation in the charter schools or the public schools because they're so focused on teaching to the test that even if it's a STEM school, it's not really like they have a whole lot of free time to be able to give them some sort of innovative education, or, you know, some of them will be like an arts magnet. But then you've got school choice vouchers, and that's where the dollars follow the child to a private school. And that sounds really good because you're like, well, I'm paying these crazy taxes because, you know, I advocate to vote down these exorbitant bonds. We've got a $750 million bond coming up in Richardson ISD. Some districts have $1 billion bonds.
While your enrollment is down.
Yeah, well, enrollment's down, and our academic performance has been on a decade decline. So more than half of our kids don't read on grade level. And I don't say can't read on grade level because they could if they were taught properly. They don't read on grade level because they haven't been taught properly. And but anyway, back to the I call it bondage, you know, with the school bonds. But the districts are what was I saying before that?
Get off on these tangents.
I know.
Well,
we're talking about the bonds.
The school bonds.
Yeah, but before that,
and about the money following the kid.
Yeah, school choice. And so, but then they have education savings accounts. All of those are banking schemes. So they're not really solutions because, okay, so say the money follows the child to their private school. Well, Shelton, if you've got dyslexia, Shelton's $30,000 or close to that in Dallas. They give you $7,500 for a voucher, or they give you some sort of debit account. That's not even going to pay, you know, all of it. So it really doesn't help. And they always use the conservatives always use, oh, well, what about you? You want to keep those poor Black and brown children trapped in failing schools. Well, they're failing a lot of times because of the legislation that was actually coming from the right. And then the kids, they can go to a private school with that voucher, assuming that the private school even takes them, because you have to test into a lot of these, but it's not even going to cover the whole cost. So they've got transportation issues. They've got meeting the difference in the cost of the private school. There are no private schools that are that cheap. So, you know, there might be some sort of scholarship. They'll offset the cost, but it doesn't solve the problem, which is why the schools are failing us in the first place. And in the legislature, this legislative session, I think the vouchers got canned. I'm pretty sure. I think
there's always some active bill somewhere, whether it be in Congress or in your local state legislature. There's always one somewhere where someone's come up with the latest and greatest. I think Cruz and Lee, their backpacks went away or got tabled for a while. But I suspect with what we see going on right now that you're going to see a renewed effort in that, trying to get that crammed through. And I want everybody to be aware when the government is telling you that they're going to offer you the solution to fix your problems, it's still tied to the government. It doesn't fix your problems. Parents are going to have to take responsibility.
That's the homeschool population. There's two camps. One wants the money, and the other says, "Hell no, I don't want your money. I'll figure it out on my own." So really, the solution doesn't lie in getting them to give you back the money that we need to get these school districts cleaned up. And a lot of Republicans, they complain about how the schools have run amok, but they don't vote for the school board in the school board races. They don't get engaged locally. And then they bitch and moan about, oh, our taxes, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's where your property taxes are set, is through your school boards. And that whole bill, you know, they were supposed to address property tax relief, and that was all just a bunch of bullshit. It didn't do a darn bit.
Nothing points to get reelected.
That is exactly where more you nailed it. That's what I was talking about before the break. Solution. I think we've sat around for so long expecting things to go our way that we become complacent, and we have let what has happened just happen. We talk a big game, but nobody actually gets out there on the local level. Hey, no. It's one thing to say I voted for the president and say that, but now what have you done in your community?
Well,
And
look
that's
what
where I
Bill
want you guys
Ayers,
to
we
help
need to
us.
learn from people like Bill Ayers and all the work that he did. He said exactly what to do. The blueprint is you go into these local communities and he said, infiltrate. And then you've got Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals: hold your enemy to their own set of standards. I think that's number 4. Hold your enemy to their own set of standards. You put the hypocrisy back in their face. Most of these school districts are run by white liberals. And in like my district, white liberals have racist policies. We've only had one black trustee on our school board in all the history of Richardson until recently. Now we were busted up into single member districts because we got sued because they were basically cherry picking the school board trustees, and they did all kinds of things that they kept the schools not segregated, but they would build new schools in poor communities. They build a school right in the middle of a low income apartment.
And rezone every single year, regardless of the impact to the children and where they may have to move in order to serve somebody's agenda. It could be anything. It could be the football team to make sure that they get the right feeders. It could be anything, but they rezone and disrupt these kids' lives every year. People move to a certain location thinking we have nine high schools in our district now, and people would move to
ours. They'll just build the school and keep it. It's like, oh, we'll just keep them over here, and then they wonder why those schools are failing when it's 90% is on.
Can we talk about that for a minute? Because I think that's one thing I've been really perturbed about in the last few weeks with this critical race theory. Lynn, that we have all, and especially Pat, our friend Dr. Patrick Huff, we've all done everything that I think that we can do to reach out, trying to draw attention to what is happening to the kids in poverty through the standardized testing system. And no matter what happens, COVID freezes, happen to our kids in these schools, they double down and are determined that these kids are still going to take their STAR tests or whatever state you're in, your standardized tests. No matter what happens, we have to push through and get that data out of these standardized tests. We saw in AEP this week that's not boding well for anyone. The kids are, the standards are corrupt. The accountability is corrupt. The accountability is the standardized testing system. It's corrupt. It's terrible. The measures that we're measuring the kids by are awful. However, even as bad as they are, they're performing terribly. But then when they're performing terribly and half the kids in the country can't read, the very bottom percentages are very discriminatory against kids in poverty. And we cannot.
And they hire. Sorry.
Well, that's okay. I was just going to the point that we can't get these so-called social justice warriors who want to shove all these pop culture crap theories down our throats all the time. We can't get them to engage about the real problems that we can prove are happening to these kids.
Oh, right. And they talk,
those
talk
numbers
about equity, diversity, and inclusion. And I call it fake-witty because they'll appoint someone in a high paying admin job, create these roles for people, and it's all empty platitudes. It's all bullshit. And when you really look at how they're spending the money in the schools that have predominantly Black and brown kids, they're not spending as much money in those schools. So I did a deep dive on my district, and they were spending less per pupil in these campuses that had the worst scores, that had the most kids on free and reduced lunch. And if you look at some of these more conservative districts like Plano ISD and Irving ISD, they're actually spending the money more equitably. It's the ones that are run by liberals that are away to all kinds of stupid, to their steering contracts to their buddies, all these. It's total crap. And that's why I say the white liberals are the worst. And then they go to professional development and they go off to TASA and TASB training, and they learn how not to listen to the taxpayer. And it's all groupthink. And they all say the same crap. Nationwide, they're all spouting the same empty platitudes. But if you really look, here I am, a white conservative, saying, no, your Black and brown children can't read or don't read on grade level because you don't care if they can read, because every 2 years they change it. That we're like, oh, we're going to do this, new reading strategy because you can't make money on old reading.
Hey, I got
It's
it.
not work.
I got it something for you. So
Yeah.
let's put that on a platform as in our whole country. So now we're just talking about the schools in these communities ran by liberal, mostly liberal. Now let's take that same platform onto what we saw over the last summer to where we were talking about in these Democratic ran cities that got burnt to the ground. They allowed it to happen. What is the
The
common
super
denominator
spreader
here?
events that were okay.
Yeah, and now what is the common denominator here? We want more money. We need more money. If we would have had a little bit more money, we would have been able to, we could have saved you, or we could have saved the climate. We could have done this. All we need is more money. You know what now we're doing? Now we're coming up with a stimulus bailout basically for these cities that ran their cities to the damn ground because they wouldn't accept help. They wouldn't do nothing. But now we called this a long time ago. We knew we would pay this.
Yeah.
We knew that we would pay for their mistakes. Now you're talking on a school level, and it's the same damn thing. It doesn't matter. You're telling me that the conservative type, take Florida for instance, who opened up, they said 100%. They were at Miami was at like a 350 million surplus. They're not asking for handouts, but who is? The same damn cities that always do. And if you take that on a school level and you start doing some common denominators of what's going on here, where is this money going? Why is it not being allocated to these kids who
It doesn't
definitely
go to
need the
people
help?
it's supposed to. It happens in the cities. The money goes to all these vanity projects, and they're not taking care of basic infrastructure of the cities. And they're off chasing all these shiny objects. The school districts do the exact same thing.
100%.
What's tricky with school districts is you've got the bond money can't really be spent. It's allocated to certain things like the different buckets like M&O, INS, and bond dollars that can be spent on technology and buildings and things. Oh, I wish I had that. Do you have that picture of my school board trustees in the hard hat? Did I send you that?
You did send that. Hold
Oh,
on.
I love that picture because first of all, I've sent it out there, hashtag hard-headed. But it's all those school board trustees. Some of them have since rolled off, and a lot of the board has turned over. But it's them standing in a construction site with their hard hats on, and they're all so cute, because all they really care about is the passing the bonds, passing the tax hikes, the tax ratification elections, just more money. And then the people who fund the Vote Yes PACs for the school districts are the construction companies and those who benefit from the passage of the bond. And so it just keeps the money flowing constantly. The debt just continues. They never get the money, never get that money back. They never pay off that debt. And they never put it back to the taxpayers. They just continue to float more bonds.
And no one ever has to be accountable for the projects within the bond. They never come back and reconcile those to the community ever. You never see that.
I just saw
all I know is they just keep on saying, if we just had a little bit more money, we could have accomplished our goal. A little bit more.
So much money, more money than any other country on education. And our kids are at the bottom of the.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a fun exercise for you. If you want to get people involved, this is a fun exercise.
I don't work out, Kim. What are you talking about?
So
exercise. Come on.
yeah, this is probably as close as I'm getting to it today. So tell everybody you know who's interested in this to go and pick someone, their school board member, their school superintendent, their state legislator, their congressman, their state senator.
Oh, there they are, hard-headed trustees.
Isn't that a warm and fuzzy picture?
Yeah, they paint it to be so, hey, look at all us.
Yeah, we're working so hard. And the truth is, the sad part is, and I engaged with one of our board members on social media yesterday about this. I want one of those people to emerge from their position as trustee of their district and say, you know what, I came here to make a difference, and I can't make a difference because the lawyers won't let me, the lobbies won't let me.
Yeah, tell the truth.
The administrators won't let me, but
they just cover for them. My board, I'm sure yours is like this, rubber stamp. When I ran for school board 2017, I did a deep dive during my campaign. It was the most shared post that I made, and it was that I did 6 years worth of analysis of all their votes, and there was only one no vote in all of 6 years. So you got 7 people plus the superintendent, and they all come to consensus every single time. Well, that was one of the lawsuits, the Texas Open Meetings violation. They were taking trustees 2 by 2 before they went to the horseshoe to vote, and said, "This is how we're going to vote," and they got busted for that.
Good. They should.
So
I had an epiphany today, Lynn, that you've probably already thought of this, but I was visiting with a team
That was
lead.
an old picture, Lauren. That was years ago. Sorry, go ahead, Kim.
I was visiting with an English language arts team lead today, and we were talking about the difficulty in getting approval for good, solid, phonetic, sound, science of reading type teaching. That they find these great programs and they can't get them approved. The curriculum and instruction department always kicks it back, and there's always some crazy reason that nobody can understand why these, even though they're proven, can never get through. But at the same time, they're putting the teachers through professional development for science of reading and teaching them phonetic-based learning. And the teachers can't understand why they can never get these programs approved. Well, I started thinking about it. They're using those programs in remediation. The intervention is science of reading and phonetic learning.
But
they're
core is
fixing
not.
They're going to fix it after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
The primary instruction is not. And you know why? Because they keep those kids so that they can get the funding. They're getting their additional funding for remediating those kids. They're screwing up the kids' education so that they can be paid to
They're
fix it
stalling
later.
them and stunting their development in order to get the funding.
That is criminal in my opinion.
Ain't it funny how everything comes back to the money?
In ESL classes, even though she spoke perfect English, because her parents are Filipino, and so they were just doing it to get the funding. It took her parents 3 months to get her out of there. You know, she's the political.
Well, they say that if you want to find the root to all the issues, just follow the money.
Yeah,
That's so true.
It's amazing.
Follow the money. It always tells the story.
Yeah, then
Well,
I can
okay,
tell
and then
you,
what's
there's somebody
interesting-
down there that could care less about whoever they're getting the money from. Most of the
So
time, they're just like, cha-ching.
I want y'all to think about this. Think about what business, what person, so we're going through this gender identity crisis thing we've got going on. We're going through racial and cultural awareness and all these things. Think about what class of people has absolutely no recourse in the court system when they are harmed. Our children have no recourse. There is no lawyer, no legislator, no judge that will hear a case against the state for failing in their duties to fight the federal government for our kids. Nobody. We've tried it. We've been to every law center, any guru that hung a shingle out that said that they were advocates for kids. We've tried it. You cannot sue federal government over these education issues. Our children have no remedy for the harm being caused to them.
Well, ultimately, it's definitely control issue. I mean, or a factor in that. It's like we said, how they've taken and even with the curriculum and all that, they've made it to where parents and kids don't communicate anymore, because basically it's almost to the point where the parents can't help the kid with schoolwork and the kid thinks the parent's stupid. So then that puts they rely on the counselors and teachers to be there, to be those answers for the parents or whatever, and from there, why are they going to go to the parents for anything at that point? You know what I mean? So
and there's all these, they create these, so you have like with the PTA, and they create all these things that become support systems, but they also become cheerleaders of the districts, and they don't. It's like they're hamstrung. And you don't really get any real advocacy out of the PTA, because they're just doing whatever the district, at least that's how it is with my district. They bring the PTA in and make them feel important, in order to get them to champion whatever, they're trying to push out, get us to pass a bond or get us to do whatever they want us to do. I think if parents realized how much power they have, there's so many more of us. I know as far as like elected representatives, there's like 6,000 of us for every one elected representative. So when you think about, there's so much power that we have that we don't use, whether it's us against our school district, but parents are so, they don't know what to do. And so you were asking about, how do we get engaged? What do we do? What are the solutions? Because I can mention mine all day long. I'm really good at it. But I do want solutions, and I want to empower people and help give them the tools. What can I do? And so much of it is really simple. You log on to the city website or the county website or the school district, and you look for agenda. Just say board agenda, and then it pulls up everything in the past, and the most recent will usually be at the top. And you go and then you come through it, and a lot of it's like blah, 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 it makes no sense, but once you start reading these things every month, you start to get familiar with the language they use. Like in education, the language has been completely co-opted. And so it's kind of hard to understand what they're saying. But after a while, you get to understand the language, and then you understand the players, and then you can start seeing these personalities and how they work together or not together. And you can start to understand what's really going on, who holds the power. And so you can do that. And we've done that at the state legislature. You see a lot just being in the room or even out in the hall when you see who's talking to whom. And but reading the agenda items and then showing up to testify, to speak on those issues. And people get really nervous. It's better if you just speak from the heart, because they don't listen if you read something. Mm-hmm. So that's hard to do. It takes practice, and y'all, like, I do the best when I'm mad. When I'm really mad, my brain just goes into overdrive. And
passionate,
right?
Do the worst when I'm mad and yell at Larry Taylor.
Right. I usually go there about to say something, and I sit there for 8 hours, and I get so pissed off that I speak on something else, and then I can turn 2 minutes into 15. Then I make them mad. They want to argue with me.
That's when I feel like I do some of my best things. I kind of just I get outside myself, and I'm speaking from my heart. And I told Nick this, or Simple Man, this a long time ago. I was like, as long as we come from a place where we're not compromising our morals and values, we're wanting what's best for our children, and we want to leave this place a better place, we're speaking from our heart, then we're not going to do anything wrong. We're going to say what we want.
To gain,
except for the other half doesn't like that. Yeah.
No. Good really people, important. Good deeds,
That's
and really, obviously, cancel culture.
Hey, before we jump off into that, Kim, let me say we've got about 9 minutes before normally our show would end.
It goes fast.
Do y'all feel like staying on for a little longer?
Sure. I mean, there's still a lot that we haven't really gone into the details of the critical race theory, and then the
cancel culture and the cancel cartoon stuff and all that. I'd like to get y'all's take on that stuff too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in closing on the just what to do and the solutions.
Yeah.
Government's run by those who show up. So you get better at it the more you show up. And the left is showing up, but there are most of them are paid operatives. So they'll come in, with their matching t-shirts, and it'll look like at your city council meeting that there are all these people that are for or against something. And when in reality, they're paid to be there, and they're part of another organization that they're not really, the taxpayers who are affected by it. Like when these moms wanted the curfew to stay in Dallas, they had all these young people who don't even have kids showing up saying, no, we want the curfew lifted. I'm like, and then you have these black moms who put the thing there in the first place, and they're showing up, 20 years later, and they're like, I used that as an extra, parenting tool, knowing, okay, maybe they wouldn't listen to me, but they know that if the cops are out there. And so it's just all these things to undermine parents. It's just constant. It's just constant.
I'd like to kind of expand on something that Todd was saying, and this is really important to me as a Christian. I know not everyone listening is a Christian necessarily, but for those of us who are, it is imperative to our faith that we speak the truth all of the time. when it's uncomfortable for people, when it makes people angry, when it makes people not like you, okay. But we have to accept that will be a consequence of speaking the truth. But we always, always, always have to speak the truth. We owe it to our Creator, and then we owe it to our children that He gave it to us as gifts. And whether it be in the general political realm or in education, when you're battling these people, you can't stop telling the truth just because it makes people uncomfortable.
Well, Kim, I also think that's part of compromising the values and morals. So
we won't do that.
You know, it's like when we were waiting after the break for y'all to get in. I mean, the yes, ma'am, the no, ma'am. You know, we teach our kids to use the manners and stuff, and we're not gonna bow down to this crap that they're trying to teach kids and cut any kind of gender identity out of stuff. I mean, we're going to teach our kids to be individuals, and we're going to teach them to look at people as individuals and treat people fairly and give them a fair shake until they don't give that in return. So, I mean, that's what it's about.
Yeah. Not only that, it's like y'all know us, y'all seen what's happened to us in just a short period of time. We don't bow down. We're never going to be somebody that you're going to see wearing a suit, reading off a teleprompter. We're not ever going to be bought out. We're not going to be told. We're going to do what we feel is right for our kids, for this country, and for when we do leave this place, we want to actually act like we made a difference. We don't want to go, oh, well, it don't affect me. Good luck, kids. No, actually take a step. Do something. That's what I encourage everybody out there to do. That's what I applaud both of y'all, because y'all out there, we say this all the time. You walk the walk, you talk the talk, and both of y'all do that. We're out there, we put it all on the line. There's been a lot of sacrifices, obviously, with being a conservative and doing something like this. I mean, who would have thought, just a short period of time that we would have been a threat to anybody to where they need to attack us personally, pull us off of social media. But you know what? We're still here. We're going to keep telling the truth. We're not stopping. We're not bowing down. And you know what? Whether you think so or not, we're going to be at the school boards too. We're going to be there. We're going to keep going. And it's going to only get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I can promise you that within the next couple of weeks, you're going to see some big, big things coming out of Htx Renegrade Radio. I can promise you that. And just with these type of ladies who can come on and speak to you and tell you the truth, that's eye-opening, people. There's no more excuses now just to sit on your hands and wait for somebody else, wait for your neighbor to do it. Get out there, be a part of it. Hey, listening to the show and gaining all this knowledge is one thing, but sitting at home and just regurgitating it is nothing. Make a difference. It starts with you.
Because everything is local. And I think if there's anything we've learned, over the years, is like all this stuff going on in DC and I mean, it really relates to us. Kim, we've talked to Dwayne Stovall about, doing something here in Texas, with just starting another party. Everything is local, and DC doesn't care about us, and the swamp doesn't on both parties. It's so corrupt. And all the things that have happened through the lockdowns, the shutdown of our economies, and everything happening locally. And I didn't mention this before, but for the last 11 years, I've been working with unemployed people as a ministry at my church as a volunteer. And this has been so devastating to not just our kids, but people, being furloughed and laid off, and all of these mandates. They're coming at the local level. These little county judges are little tyrants, and regardless of what the governor says, they're imposing things, like with the masks and working as a
county judges. We got one of those. Oh,
ours is just terrible. And he steers contracts to his buddies with CARES funding, creates jobs. And he got busted for it. Clay Jenkins is his name. I write about him.
Yeah, I love the song
about him too.
Love the songs.
Hey,
I actually don't write the songs. I just change the lyrics. I rip off.
We're almost at the 2-hour mark, so I just want to give a shout out to the people that are watching us over on WO Entertainment Facebook page and WO Entertainment YouTube page. We're going to keep this show rolling for a little bit longer. And if y'all want to join in and watch us, continue to watch us, come over and watch us on the
welcome back, Dean.
HTX. Yeah, come over and watch us on the Htx Renegrade Radio Facebook page or the YouTube channel. You can catch us at the Bill of Rights Network Facebook page.
Are y'all on Twitter? I'm a
yes,
big
no.
tweeter. I'm an aggressive tweeter. That's what I'm asking.
I deleted my Twitter, but I want to go back because of her.
My
Twitter, Twitter is there's still a lot of people on there. I mean, you have to trick them with the algorithms and the hashtags because you have to, you can't be overtly.
Redneck Pimp.
Yeah, Redneck Pimp wanted us to give a shout out about Warrior Fest. It's coming up November 4th and 5th. Is that where I was?
Yeah, we might have to plan a little family getaway around that time.
Warrior Fest at 5th and 6th. They were wanting us to invite y'all over to Warrior Fest.
We have to make some plans on that. It sounds like an amazing time.
And Kim, I need to get you to Dallas too.
I'd like to come see you, Lynn. I want to go see Guandalo.
Yeah, I want to go see.
Oh, Mr. Guandalo.
Yeah, y'all had him on the show.
Yeah. We're. I think we're going to work on. Excuse me, trying to get him back on the show again.
Yeah, we need to bring him back.
Hey,
so many things have happened.
While we're giving little plugs, do y'all mind if I tell everybody the Texian party is having